views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, welcome to Open BxRx Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Chari Executive Suite. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll learn about the West Side Campaign Against Hunger organization and their turkey challenge that will support families this holiday season. After that, we'll speak about the Grooming Alchemist, a mental health and wellness advocacy foundation geared towards underserved youth, when we speak to the founder and artisan barber, Charlie McCoy. And then we'll talk to the Salvaged Sawhorse artist and founder, Jennifer Velasquez, to discuss her self-care and self-love affirmation decks, along with her planners to help jumpstart wellness routines. And later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on gospel artist Anisa Fowler, who tells us all about her career as a non-traditional gospel artist, followed by a performance. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way, because now we are officially open. Welcome to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche, for the next hour, inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, don't forget to follow moi on Instagram, Insta Stories, FB, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So Thanksgiving is a time to share with loved ones. And well, for the last 20 years, the West Side Campaign Against Hunger has been providing turkeys and healthy food for families to enjoy this holiday season. The organization's goal is to ensure that no New Yorker goes hungry for Thanksgiving. And joining us to tell us more about their mission, services, along with the Turkey Challenge, please welcome West Side Campaign Against Hunger Director of Partnerships and Community Engagement, Stephanie Moshier. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here with us. And first and foremost, let's just reintroduce the organization, because my introduction was based on the Thanksgiving campaign. However, the organization itself has been in existence for 42 years. And not only that, the organization is recognized as being at the forefront of an innovating company, right? Or mission. And so part of that comes from the fact that you're very mindful and conscious of the food that's being distributed, as well as the style. I understand that you were like the first in the United States to offer it in supermarket pantry style. So let's just give everybody a little insight as to all of these innovations that founded the organization into where we're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. So West Side Campaign Against Hunger has been around for over 40 years, and really started, like most pantries do, in the basement of a church here on the Upper West Side, by a committee of community members who were seeing what was happening in their neighborhood and wanted to respond. And so it started, like most pantries do, as just a brown bag of canned goods and other items that traditionally you see at food pantries. But those who were running the pantry started noticing people exchanging things outside on the sidewalk. You know, I don't actually like peanut butter, but I love tuna. Maybe we can change, and things like that. And really, from there, innovated this idea of bringing choice into pantries, into people accessing emergency food. And so we started the supermarket style model for food pantries here on the Upper West Side, where folks could come and really choose what they wanted to take for their families.
And so how was this organization, or how is this organization capable of even establishing that option being accessible, right? Because usually when you go to pantries, it's kind of like, this is what we got. So there's obviously some kind of alliance that is set that is offering these healthy, consciously healthy choices.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we really pride ourselves on giving out the healthiest food in the city, and saying no to items being offered like very highly processed, high in sugar, high in salt. And so we're able to do that through a lot of our food partners. You know, we are very grateful to work with City Harvest to access fresh fruits and vegetables. You know, through the food bank for New York City to get those canned items and shelf stable items. And then we're also just very fortunate to have a community and base of supporters that allow us to purchase the food that we can't get from those other resources, to make sure that our offerings are consistent and the healthiest possible.
So prior to the pandemic versus where we are now, like what do those numbers look like of people having food insecurities?
Yeah, so pre-pandemic, you know, right before the pandemic started that year, we had served, you know, approximately 10,000 unique households, both at our Upper West Side location and through our mobile markets. And in this last full year of the pandemic, we served over 27,000 households across New York City. We distributed over 4 million pounds of food, half of which was fresh fruits and vegetables. And it's so, yeah, it's nearly tripled.
Wow. And so I understand you also expanded your services, right? So whereas you're centered on the West Side, but now you've expanded into other boroughs, including the Bronx, right? So what are the organizations you've partnered up with, and how do you decide what organizations you collaborate with?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, we actually started our work expanding outside of the Upper West Side in 2017 with the launch of our mobile market program, which really focused on Northern Manhattan and parts of the South Bronx, you know, where we were seeing customers not coming to our Upper West Side location anymore. And so thinking about where they were coming from and how we could find organizations where they were living to be able to get them food still. So pre-pandemic, we worked with about 15 community-based organizations in Northern Manhattan and the Bronx, and that has grown to over 70 throughout the pandemic. And some of those really key partners in the Bronx have been Children's Aid, Phipps Neighborhoods, Sobro, amongst a number of sites to just make sure that people have access to food in their community.
Wow, that's wow. You guys were definitely on the hitting the ground in the forefront, because it just sounds like it was a lot of mobilizing and a lot of collaborating and communicating and trying to, I guess, figure out what the needs are, right, for each community, which leads me to the social services that you offer as well. So again, going back to your innovative style, so let's talk about that level of expansion, because now you have an entirely new department as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we had to be innovative and we've had to be creative and you know, respond to the needs during this incredible time for our customers and our city. And so, yeah, the social services department, you know, it's actually where I got my start at West Side Campaign Against Hunger. And so our team has been on the ground for a while. But how this has really, you know, the reason that we really promote our social services is because as incredible as those numbers are of pounds of food being given out, that doesn't solve food insecurity. What really makes a difference in our customers' lives are those economic impacts and those benefits that they can access and are eligible for and often don't know. So our team really focuses on SNAP, the food stamp program, public assistance benefits, rental arrears. You know, we've learned a lot and pivoted with a lot of these COVID relief programs that have come out, health insurance so people can see their doctor, and different programs like that.
How does a person qualify for that? Like, how do they reach out and, you know, do they need to be of a certain neighborhood in order to participate or have those services offered?
No, anyone is welcome to access our social services. They can, you know, we pre-screen for eligibility. So before we put you through the rigmarole of some of those applications, you know, we'll walk through how you qualify, if you qualify, and what documents you need to provide. But anyone is welcome to give us a call at 212-362-3662 extension 126, or email us at socialservices@wisca.org, and you can be connected to one of our very knowledgeable community resource counselors.
Wonderful. And so, of course, before we go, we must talk about the Turkey Challenge, because while you did distribute 4.3 million pounds of healthy food to more than 77,000 individuals, I understand your goal is to feed 7,000 families for Thanksgiving. So the question is, how many turkeys have you collected thus far?
Yeah, so far we've collected a little over 2,700 turkeys. So we're well on our way to meeting that goal. You know, we've started earlier than ever before, and the demand is clearly there, and folks are looking to have an incredible Thanksgiving this year with family and friends. So we are happy to be here to be able to support those looking for that.
In both directions, right? Those who are interested in donating, as well as those who are in need of a turkey or meal.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, and then there's volunteering, right? For Thanksgiving Day, is it that you're looking for volunteers?
So we volunteers really are the bread and butter of how we do this work. You know, without them, we wouldn't be able to pack those bags and hand out the food. So we partner with New York Cares to recruit volunteers to really staff the core pieces of the distribution work. So we are accepting volunteers Monday through Friday from 9 to 1.
That's right. That's how we do it. We are New York strong.
Yeah.
Being there, being a stand for each other. Thank you so much for bringing it to our platform. Stephanie Moshier, Director of Partnerships and Community Engagement at Westside Campaign Against Hunger. And you guys, once again, if you're interested in donating, supporting a family, and or volunteering for this Thanksgiving and more, please be sure to visit WSCAH.org/turkey challenge. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a foundation that's helping the underserved youth. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Our next guest is a lifestyle entrepreneur and men's grooming expert with over 20 years of barber industry experience. And he's had the opportunity to work with companies such as Kiehl's, and he is also the CEO of Artisan luxury brands. And well, today he joins us to tell us about his foundation, the Grooming Alchemist, which focuses on mental health and wellness advocacy for underserved youth and cult survivors. Joining us to share more, we welcome Charlie McCoy. Hello, Charlie. Welcome.
Thank you, Rhina, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well. It's lovely that you were able to find the time with all of these amazing ventures that you have moving simultaneously, right? So I introduced pretty much three parts to your business, and if we can, let's elaborate a little further so that people understand the dynamics behind the fact that you're an artisan barber and that you're a community builder and also like a brand creative empowerer, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're like doing collaborations with upcoming creatives that need mentorship.
Sure, yeah, totally. Should I just jump in?
Yeah, jump in the way you see fit.
I was just talking to one of my clients the other day about the Grooming Alchemist and why I'm creating this community. And I explained to him in 3 minutes why. And I told him that although it's true that I've lived on the Upper East Side, which is one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Manhattan, for 6 years. I also lived in Brooklyn Heights for 5 years. I also spent 6 years in the Hudson Valley, right? Beautiful part of New York, right? So I'm used to affluent spaces, safe spaces, right? But growing up, I spent my childhood in a wild neighborhood on the south side of Oklahoma City, where, you know, throughout the 80s, there was plenty of episodes of gang violence, teenage pregnancy, drugs, all sorts of pitfalls that I saw. I saw a lot of carnage growing up. And it wasn't until, you know, I'm almost 40. So it wasn't until, you know, the past few years of therapy that I've been able to unlock. Growing up, I thought all this was just normal in terms of, you know, the bullying at school, the drugs, the sex, the things that I saw as a young person. And, you know, I got to thinking about it. You know, grown-ups from the Midwest go to Afghanistan and stay for like 3 years and come back with PSTD for life. You know,
Right.
what happens when a child's been exposed to that from the age of 5 to 18? You know, and that got me thinking about how ways to give back, because I've been able to find, like I mentioned, I've spent the last 15 years in these different spaces, but
Right.
the
Right.
first half of my life was different.
So I need to, I get it. And just because we need to, just for clarity purposes, right? So you've been blessed. You went backwards, right? You went and you said, look, I've lived in these, you know, prestigious neighborhoods, right? But my origins are from there. So how did you get from there to here?
Great story. The short answer is my mother, who raised me as a single parent, she was a librarian. She made about $20,000 a year my entire childhood. She did an amazing job as a parent. So let me just start with that. However, when I was in 1989, when I was about 5 years old, she became a Jehovah's Witness, right? And I'm not going to get into the details of how I feel about Jehovah's Witnesses, but I will say my upbringing was very strict. So I had to battle several forces starting from age 5 till about 18. And then those forces included the church, my own, you know, dealings growing up in high school as a Black male in America, and then my own like aptitude for art and creativity and spirituality that was always kind of like inside of me. I've been an artist. I've been a person who's liked to draw since I was 3 years old. Right. And I think that's why I became a barber. But going back to
How is that related to a barber? Because you're using people as canvases. That's amazing, right? It has so much symbolism. Like I
used to draw haircuts. I used to draw cars, haircuts in the 90s at my desk at school and head shapes. So it's been something that I've been passionate
like,
about, grooming and
wow.
art and making things look good. So growing up, I was an athlete, I was an artist, I had all these things that I wanted to do, but there was a lot of pitfalls in my city. So I think my mother, instead of letting me go free to just be involved in all the things that I wanted to, she steered me toward the church. And so I kind of rebelled against that. And and plus there was a poverty thing. So I needed to make money, because if you don't make money, you can't do anything.
Right.
So there was a lot of things bubbling in my youth, right? My dad, he had passed away. There was a single parent situation. There was, you know, an area neighborhood that was, you know, full of crime. And then there was a church. So the church, little did I know, was a multi-billion-dollar nonprofit that had global reach. And so my mother was just trying to make a way, because she knew that there was this place called Bethel, this place in New York City, and it was the headquarters of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And if I can get my son there, it's like the Harvard of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're going to train him and educate him. He's going to be, you know, he's not going to die in the streets of Oklahoma with a gunshot, or the police aren't going to pick him up. Because there was several instances that that's, so long story short, at 18, 19, after a couple of years of getting into some trouble, I decided to take the religion seriously, and I used it by volunteering my time, right, and complying with their standards. I became one of the top recruits, so to speak. And I accepted into the headquarters at New York Bethel in 2005. It was in Brooklyn Heights. So that's how I got to New York. And then obviously when you're there, your job pays for your stay. So they have like healthcare and medicine and food and everything for you, but you work in exchange for that. So that's how I ended up in New York.
Got it. And that's how you started understanding the operations and the nature of business, right? Because I'm going to assume based on what you just shared, you're kind of modeling something in that same formula for mental health advocacy for the next generation through your program, the Grooming Alchemist.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Rhina, because it's because of that, like, it's not on my resume, that 12 years I spent working full-time for Watchtower, that I have the aptitude to build a foundation the way it's been organized, because I've spent a decade in that space. Now, when I was in the space, I didn't view it because the indoctrination makes you just feel like this is God's purpose. And if I don't do it, God's going to destroy me. But after, right, I'm looking at it from a different worldview. Like, what are the skills that I possess from that experience, right? And how can I employ them? And that's one of the things I want to teach through the foundation to former members who leave at a high level, right? How do
No. This is all good stuff. I just want to make sure that everybody's getting the meat and potatoes of the fact that you officially launched this initiative this month, right? And that and that in some aspect, you yourself are a wonderful living example of what it needs to live your purpose, still fulfill your dream, and serve community simultaneously.
Exactly. I appreciate that. In terms, and like, just to kind of unpack what you mean by launch this month, for the past year, we've been building content and thinking about how we want to make an impact. And this month, we were able to get the paperwork into New York, right? Build a website, and then go into the school and launch a program. The program includes haircuts and mentorship. So we're active like now. So it's been really a 6-year process since I left the organization into building this new organization. But the barbershop, building that first community is what really led into this second endeavor with the Grooming Alchemist.
Yeah, and I understand it was brought to IS 219 in the Bronx. So thanks for bringing it up here to us in the BX. We are out of time, my man, Charlie McCoy. I can tell I can talk to you all day long. Congratulations on all your endeavors. And most importantly, I see you and acknowledge you for making sure that you leave things better than you found them. That's Charlie McCoy, everybody. Of course, he is the Artisan Barber. And once again, to learn more about the Grooming Alchemist, you can visit thegroomingalchemist.org. And if you're interested in getting a haircut with a super cool vibe, you can visit artisanbarber.com to make your appointment. All right, we have to take a quick break. But when we return, we're going to hear about a brand design to lift your spirits this holiday season. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. So as the holidays approach, a new level of stress, depression, and anxiety emerges for many individuals. And our next guest decided to create Salvaged Sawhorse, a collection of self-love, affirmation decks, and self-care planners to help jumpstart one's wellness routines. And throughout her artwork, she strives to create tools that help women put themselves first. And step into their power. Joining us to tell us more, we welcome artist and founder Jennifer Velasquez. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Rhina. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I can't thank you enough for what you've chosen to create, but and I'm saying this from a person who was also on this path to exercise self-justice and just being still and pausing and applying that same level of passion that I give to all my projects to oneself. And it's a very interesting concept that I hope that we'll be able to really express to our viewers how important it really is. And so I would like to open up with just, if you don't mind, just sharing with our viewers the fact that you actually grew up with chronic pain and how that is kind of the catalyst to the development in this style of business, right? Because it's healing and art combined, which is beautiful.
That's exactly right. Yeah. First of all, I agree with everything you're saying. It's so true that women, we pour so much energy out into the world and then feel resistance to throw that around and pour it right back into ourselves. So I grew up with migraines, and migraines were such a big part of my life because my mother had them, my father had them. And sure enough, when I turned 12, I got my first migraine. And it was just like your regular, couple of times a month. It didn't get bad until I was in my 20s. And then I was labeled a chronic migrainer, which means that you get 15 or more migraines a month.
My God.
I'm in college. I'm graduating college with my first job, and I'm like having to take days off. I have to run to the bathroom in the middle of the workday to be sick, where coworkers were asking me, like, are you pregnant? And I'm like, no, I'm just chronically sick all the time. And so it was taking a huge toll on my mental health. And a lot of people that have chronic illnesses, they come up with it triggers different mental illnesses, right? Anxiety, a lot of depression. So I was talking to my neurologist, who was actually one of the few great neurologists in my life, who was really progressive and really thought outside the box. And she's like, I think you're having some depression. Before I put you on any medication, because you're taking enough for your migraines, how about you check how you're talking to yourself? How about you start interrogating these negative thoughts that are coming up, and just be easy on yourself. Give yourself some love. And I'm like, okay, so how I talk to myself will change how I feel about myself. She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, wait. And so I delved into the world of affirmations, and over time, I was still sick. I was still getting migraines, but how I felt about them changed. I saw myself as like a warrior. Can I say that?
Well, you already said it.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. It went like this.
I am doing all these things despite my pain. And so I realized affirmations really matter. And in college, I had studied neuroscience. I have some background in that. I have background in adult counseling. And I thought, let me create these tools so that others can use them and experience the transformation that I felt. And it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, I get it. I'm really taking in everything you're sharing deeply, because it's really a matter of perspective, right? And that's how you're living in your day, right? Yes. So it's like you made this decision that, well, I have to deal with this chronic pain. So the question becomes is how I deal with this chronic pain.
That's exactly right. Yes.
And then the artistry behind your concept, right? And I know we're going to be showing images of your work, which is so simple, but yet it's really a big deal. And I really want to emphasize that, because I'm a person who basically reads affirmations as frequently as possible, but to provide them so simply on a deck in which you can mount it and just shift it every day according to whatever that mood is, it really does make a world of a difference in how you step into your day.
Absolutely. You're priming yourself. It's the first thing that you take in instead of scrolling through your phone. And it's something that can anchor you, that you can go back to throughout the day to really give you some guidance.
And so let's just share with everyone. I mean, you gave us a brief insight as to how it's impacted your condition, but in general, in starting the business and your clients, like what kind of feedback have you been receiving?
You know, it's funny because I created my products, you know, there's other affirmation decks on the market, and I was really intentional to create it from my specific experience. You know, a Latina woman growing up in Queens with parents that kind of were in survival mode and didn't have the space to give me words of affirmation. So I really wanted to bring it back to that. And it turns out that my clients are very much like me. So what they tell me is that like the patience that they give themselves, they didn't realize they could give themselves that patience. A lot of them use my affirmations in Spanish, and they feel.
I was going to just ask that, right? Because you said Latina, so I'm assuming you made them bilingual.
Yeah, I do. So I have my affirmations in Spanish, and I have people tell me that it's like they're healing their inner child in their native tongue. They're saying the loving words that maybe their parents didn't have space or the conscience to give them back when they were 5 or 6. I have people that do it with their mom. I have people that do it with their sisters. So it's like another point of connection. I think that, you know, we've gotten to the point where affirmations are widely accepted and they're all rooted in science. It's not something woo ha ha. It's something that's rooted in how the brain works. And the fact that we have things like neuroplasticity, where when you do something enough, your brain changes, then why don't we use that to our advantage and work on ourselves?
And apply it to ourselves, exactly how we opened up the conversation. And then, you know, I want to make sure that we don't run out of time without discussing the planner, because I did have a brief conversation with you prior to getting on air with regards to how we live in a digitized age and how everything is scheduled on my digital calendar versus now I'm interested in going back to writing it. And the fact that you've created a calendar for self-planning, that is like, yes.
And do you remember, I remember my teachers would always say, like, write over your notes. Like, yes, you're in the lecture, but physically write down your notes. There's something about the act of pen and paper that helps us really absorb what we're trying to take in. And I think that with a planner, with paper, it helps you prioritize your tasks. It's so easy to just add something to the calendar, to just copy something in your to-do list. But when you're writing it down, it gives you a focus. And
I agree.
You're planning in your self-care, not just your productivity.
Right, which lately that's been my thing, right? And especially during this particular time of the year, during the holidays, things tend to slow down. People tend to become more pensive. I mean, perhaps I'm really even speaking about myself. And then it becomes a question of like, oh, am I just gonna rest? Meaning like sleep and collapse, or am I going to actually plan the self-care of tending to myself, right? Something as simple as taking a bath, a nice, you know, essential oil bath, or whatever that is, or just taking a walk and being in nothing. Like, it's important to actually schedule it in, at least for someone like me, so that nothing else interferes with that time slot that's committed or that we've committed to ourselves. And I think we're all coming back to that, especially after having been, you know, sheltered in place for so long due to the, you know, the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. You know, and there's something that you said that's so true, that I have another deck called the Feed the Soul deck, and it's different activities you can do to take care of yourself, right? And what I find is that if you don't kind of step outside of your daily routine, rest usually looks like scrolling or binging Netflix or TV shows. And they are rewarding for a little bit, but after a while, they can actually they can empty you out more than they give you. So
that's beautifully said. Yes, that is so beautifully said.
Yeah.
Yes. And I hope everybody's getting it, because it's like, yeah, you know, that putting out, you don't even realize, because it's an invisible substance that you can actually restore and just to yourself. Yeah.
And what you said, during the holidays, especially women, they're the ones responsible for all the magical joy of the season. It's usually moms and women that create it in their lives. And this time of year, when everyone's connected and happy and together, people can feel the loneliest and the tiredest. You know, so your self-care matters the most right now.
Once again, thank you, Jennifer Velasquez. And you guys, if you're interested in Salvaged Sawhorse and purchasing some affirmation decks and or self-care planners, you can visit thesalvagedsawhorse.com. All right, stay tuned, because Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
And we are off to the races here on this 5-on-5. Good morning, everybody. In at number 5 on the front end, Lewis Hamilton produced one of the greatest performances of his career to hunt down Formula One title rival Max Verstappen and win an action-packed Brazilian Grand Prix on Sunday. The dramatic victory ensured the 7-time world champion slashed his Red Bull rival's championship lead to just 14 points, throwing that title race wide open with 3 races left on the calendar. The Mercedes driver has now won 6 races this season. He started the race back in 10th after a series of time penalties, but worked his way through the grid before racing Verstappen wheel to wheel. Just an absolutely amazing drive by Lewis Hamilton. Memorable weekend in F1 and a memorable send-off for Valentino Rossi in MotoGP in the final race of the season in Valencia. And a sea of yellow Sunday in Spain, a final farewell to Rossi after 26 years as the most iconic motorcycle racer in history. Riding out on that warm-up lap, having qualified in a highly respectable 10th place, the Italian was greeted by a standing ovation from beneath an ocean of yellow flags, his signature color. His final career stats: 432 Grand Prix starts, 115 wins, 235 podiums, and 65 poles across all 3 classes of the World Championship. He would finish 10th as he brought down the curtain on his illustrious career. Rossi headlines the 4th spot, while the New York Jets take number 3, albeit for all the wrong reasons. Gangrene played another horrible defensive game in their 45-17 loss to the rival Buffalo Bills at MetLife Stadium. The 2-7 Jets, young and rebuilding, expected growing pains in 2021, but their defense has performed at an historically bad level. Here's Jets defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins with more.
You know, in the simplest of terms, lack of execution. You know, whether it be, you know, guys not understanding assignments, or, you know, just not getting to a place when they need to, a second too late or whatever. But at the end of the day, lack of execution. And, you know, it showed up over and over. And, you know, we're continuing to work to fix it. You know, this isn't a lack of effort thing. You know, guys are studying hard. Guys are making sure they're locked in to their assignments and to the game plan. But, you know, for some reason not coming together when we needed to. So we'll continue to fix this thing. We'll continue to fine-tune. Get back to the drawing board, and we'll get this thing rolling. It's just been rough so far.
You know, our system prides itself on being able to get better as the year goes on, and obviously, clearly it's not happening. But it is to look at the fundamentals and look at the way we do things, and all the way across the board, the way we're asking, what are we asking our players to do, and then players to be able to look in the mirror and see if they're executing exactly the way we want things executed. So. There's a lot of things to look at, and we've got 8 games. Obviously, from here on out, we got to find a way to get better.
On to some better news on the NBA hardwood. The Brooklyn Nets have eclipsed 10 wins and are battling atop the Eastern Conference standings. Big turnaround for the Nets and James Harden of late. We go back inside the locker room for more.
We didn't take them very lightly. We came out and tried to just play very, very good Brooklyn Nets basketball on both ends of the ball. And I think we did that. You know, 4 quarters are just pretty solid game for us, especially a 6th game of a long road trip. So we're just happy to get back home and you know, be able to play in front of our crowd.
The energy we play with on both sides of the ball, especially, you know, having, what was it, 6 games on the road, and we haven't really played a lot of road games. So to come in here and, you know, stick together and get some wins, it felt good. But overall, I like the brand of basketball we played on both ends.
It feels like it should. And obviously we got a long way to go, and we're still building on it. But just the confidence and kind of knowing each other a little bit more is helping us a lot. But I think both ends of the ball, we've experienced a little adversity. And then we've experienced, being away from home and having to fight through and grind out different games and go on different runs and teams coming back against us and how to, get a good shot and get 3 stops in a row to win games. Like, it's been a lot of things that we've had to go through for this road trip. So it was a good test for us.
The Nets grabbed the 2 spot. The New York Rangers seized number 1 here with an overtime win over the New Jersey Devils. Big win for the Rangers. Chris Kreider scored the deciding goal in the 7th round of the shootout, and the Broadway Blue Shirts beat their rivals 4-3 Sunday night at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden.
Jersey's a quick team, and, they played yesterday too, so I thought it was a little bit sloppy at times for both teams, to be honest with you. And then I thought we got some momentum on that power play goal, and we lost some momentum. They scored right on their power play right after that, so we just sort of back and forth. But they're a good team. They got defensemen that can move the puck real well, and they found the middle of the ice a few times on us, and that gave us some trouble for sure.
As an offensive player, you always want to produce, but if you go out there and practices games, work hard, I think it's going to come. And we have a great team, a lot of good players, so it's really fun to be able to play with every guys and just trying to do our best every night.
There's 5 stories that you may have missed. Here's 5 and looking at the week ahead. In at number 1, the Yankees appear to be serious players as we move into the hot stove. Free agency is underway. The Bronx Bombers are already linked to star first baseman Matt Olson and standout shortstop Carlos Correa, among many others. That news comes in a week when the team's franchise player Aaron Judge takes home a Silver Slugger Award for his banner year. Judge said this week that he wants to be a Yankee for life. I can't blame him. At 2, we want the Battle of the Bronx for life. Manhattan edged Fordham 66-60 last Friday night in Riverdale. The Rams blew the lead late in that game and surrendered this round of the rivalry to the Jaspers. But the beauty of college basketball is tomorrow is another day. We'll have to wait until next season for the next Battle of the Bronx on the men's side, but we won't have to wait that long to see the Rams and the Jaspers play. Fordham tips tonight in the Bronx at Rose Hill against the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, while the Manhattan men are in Orlando for a tournament to take on North Alabama tonight. At 3, the G-men are in Florida. 2, they take on the defending champion Tampa Bay Bucks on Monday Night Football, 8:15 p.m. kickoff for the Giants. At 4, the Jets will be home looking to rebound against another divisional rival, this time the Miami Dolphins are at MetLife Stadium. That game kicks at 1 p.m. on Sunday. And of course, we started with it here and we'll end with it here. Formula One races in Qatar this weekend. You can watch right here in the States Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. We hit the C-list for a Yankee update this offseason. The Bronx Bombers heard some great things from Aaron Judge. The slugger made it clear his desire to stay in pinstripes, saying if it was up to him, open quote, I would be a Yankee for the next 10 years for sure, close quote. Interestingly enough, he could be heading into his final season here in the Bronx. Aaron Judge will enter free agency after the 2022 season, and while the Yankees do not have any financial issues that should seriously threaten their ability to keep Judge, they do have a couple of hefty contracts on the books. See Cole and Stanton here. As for where the Yanks stand right now, it is largely assumed that after moving Gleyber Torres back to second base, the club will come away with one of the winter's top free agent shortstops. Certainly seems like a shakeup around that core of Judge, Cole, and Stanton is upon us. It's just not clear exactly yet what that will look like here in the Bronx. The Pinstripers should go ahead and extend Judge. He is a star by every measure. Sure, he has yet to replicate his 52 home run Rookie of the Year campaign that put him on the map in 2017, but in the 4 seasons since that breakout, Judge ranks 19th among all batters in total wins above replacement. Judge is also a very underrated defender, racking up 11 defensive runs saved as a right fielder in 2021. It's hard to believe, but he will turn 31 years old in April of the first year of any new deal that he signs. I don't think the Yanks can afford to give him a 10-year deal, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a 7-year pact between the two, despite the health risks and the fact that the Yanks haven't won a World Series with Judge and company. With the team's core, the Bombers may really only be a couple of moves away from getting back to the Fall Classic again. The Atlanta Braves proved this year, folks, the right moves, whether in the offseason or at the trade deadline, make all the difference in October. I guess the baseball gods will be the judge of that. That's your look at sports. I'm Bobby C.
Velasquez is a New York-based gospel artist from Trinidad who has stepped out of the box of traditional gospel music to create music from life experiences that we can all relate to. She recently signed to RNU Records and has 2 new singles playing radio, Spotify, and everywhere you can listen to inspirational music. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Anisa Fowler. Hello and welcome.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness. It is such a pleasure to have you and your soulful self. Yes, I listened to your music and I was like, oh yes, that is a voice that pierces through your soul.
Wow, thank you.
Yes, well, congratulations on your 2 new singles and congratulations on your label signing and congratulations on stepping outside of the box a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about that, right? Because you're still considered in the gospel genre. However, you're doing things a little differently. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think sometimes gospel music can come across maybe a little bit harsh sometimes, or maybe too direct. Like, I want everyone to love God and go after, serving him and that kind of a thing. But sometimes you got to kind of come in with the beat a little bit, or sometimes you got to talk about a real issue that people are dealing with and then lead them to Christ. So that's what I'm really trying to do. And it's just been a great road that we're on.
Yeah, and then you also have this series called The Blue Couch, right?
Yes.
So I got to bring it up because it's really, you're about service and you're using your talents to be of such, and so in your messaging, I know one of your messages is you're not your mistakes, right? And so you're using your voice in various forms to just lift people's hopes up.
Absolutely. I think that so many times we kind of define ourselves by what we've been through. I cheated, I lied, I stole, I messed up, whatever it is. And you say, well, because I cheated, I am a cheater. No, that was a moment in time, and you can redefine who you are by changing what you do and how you see yourself. So I really just want to empower, impact, ignite, inspire people to think about who they really see themselves are, not based on what you've done, based on what you have inside of you, the power, the strength, all of that, to pull that out and be that, not what you've done.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, listening to your music, there's something very as I was saying, like penetrable, right? Like, because it's like it seeps right through in, and what I mean by that is really just this all of a sudden this awareness of, today's a new day and I'm gonna approach it differently, and I do want to just quote you again in one of your other messages, being that it's important for people to pick themselves back up and never give up or give in. Right.
Yes.
And we just went through a very interesting time. I mean, we're still enduring it.
Yes,
however,
we're in the
shelter
middle.
in place was no joke.
Absolutely. And I mean, going through the pandemic, a lot of life has been centered around that, but we all individually have personal pandemics that we were going through even before that. And the pandemic of the world kind of added additional pressure. There are people that are going through divorces. I myself have just come out of a divorce a few years ago, and picking yourself up after devastation, after loss. You lose loved ones, not just to this COVID, but there's been other things that people have been losing family members to. And sometimes your family member is present, but you've lost them to drugs or to something that has pulled them from you. And it is so important that we remind ourselves, my song, You Reign, is God reigns. He reigns over all of this. He reigns over everything that we're going through. My song, Covered, he is covering you. We feel so exposed right now. We feel so vulnerable. Some of us are in a state of panic and fear and anxiety. And we've got to just have this resolute mindset that God is in control. And that's really what I want to encourage everyone to know. life is out of control, but God is in control.
Right. And I, truth be told, I'm not really, this is my first time meeting her, but as soon as I heard her music, there was this sense of surrender that immediately happened in just really coming to the present, which is the conversation we're having, right? Because we've been spoon fed all of these fears and we're continuously being spoon fed all of these fears of what the future holds or what's, uncertain and, or, what's going to happen if you don't, or, and what if you do? It's kind of like, well, which way do I go? And then there's just that, all that really matters is the present and now.
Right.
Living
for now.
Yeah, right. Living for now. And so when it comes to music, when it comes to worship music, right? Inspirational music, there's something else that is transmitted into the experience of just sitting with it. And it resonated with me very deeply. Obviously, is what I'm sharing with you. It's
yes. And I am so glad. I am so glad that you had that kind of a personal experience with it. And I think that's the power of inspirational gospel music, that we can all be going through different things and it hit us in a certain way and it impacts us in a certain way that we do feel that sense of surrender and just not being so worried about everything, but really just surrendering to God, surrendering to his love, to the peace, and not being so worried.
Yeah, well, that's a gift you have, my friend, in being the messenger. So I'm really happy that you're going to be bringing it to our viewers. I understand you're going to be doing a fusion of both.
Yes, I'm so excited. I cannot wait for you to hear it.
So we have this exclusive fusion of You Reign and Covered by
Yes. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And everyone you can get each song, separately, but I'm just for you all. I want to combine the two of them so you get both messages in one song.
Wonderful. And this is our Thanksgiving episode. So thank you. Thank you, Anisa Fowler. All right. But you guys don't go anywhere because when we return, Anisa's going to sing again. You Reign, Uncovered, fused together when we return. Hey everyone, welcome back here now to perform her two latest hits, You Reign and Covered, fused together. Please welcome Anisa Fowler.
Come on, let's worship our God who reigns over the nations. God sits on his throne. You are the creator of heaven and earth. You are God alone. Say you reign. Sickness has covered the globe with death and pain. Many have lost loved ones to this disease. How much more can we take? Where is the relief? But I'm still convinced of this remedy, that Jesus died on the cross to set our souls free. Yeah. He's got you covered. He's covering you. Sing it, he's got you. Yeah. Yes, Lord, you do. Everybody sing, you are. You're covered. You're covered. He's covering your mind, covering your heart. You are. You're covered. He's got you. Yes, Lord. He's covering you.
Don't you feel covered? Because I feel covered. Oh man, that was so beautiful. Both You Reign and Covered can be downloaded on any digital platform. And for more on the beautiful sounds of Anisa, you can visit her at anisafowler.com. That is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through, and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight, 24 hours a day at bronxnet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor, y have a happy Thanksgiving.